Hello, 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 good people. I see a couple of folks coming in the room. Welcome, welcome to our LA Fire Recovery Resource webinar. We are excited to have a conversation with everybody about how small business owners can be a part of the solution and make sure that everyone has good information on the resources that are available. So you are in the right room, you're in the right place. We are off to the races for our webinar today that is going to be from 3 to 4 p.m. So we are going to give a minute or two just to give folks an opportunity to trickle in. And this is your opportunity to still share with anybody who you think may want to attend. So I will drop the registration link in the chat just in case you want to text it to anybody as a, hey, you can still join, or if you wanted to email it to anyone, definitely feel free. The more people that can get access to this information, the better. And we definitely want to see people able to access this valuable, well, plethora of resources. And just as a housekeeping notice, we will be recording this, and we will be storing this recording, as well as sharing it with everyone at the end of the presentation. And we will be sharing the slide deck that we present today as well. Okay. So we'll give it about maybe one more minute. I still see a couple more folks coming into the waiting room. So give it about one more minute here, and then we'll move into our presentation. Thank you all so much for joining. We're excited for our conversation today.
Amy is the CCP check.
All right. And as folks are coming in, just make sure to mute your mics. Feel free to turn on your cameras. We love seeing smiling faces. We welcome you to engage throughout the presentation by participating in the chat, or if you have a burning question at the end of the presentation, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and propose that question. Okay. So we'll be keeping an eye on the waiting room, and we'll be sure to admit anyone else. But at this time, we are going to jump right in. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're so grateful for you all taking the time to join today. And so we want to make sure that you all get the plethora of information that is available. Oh, Kim, we're happy to have you. Thank you for joining. I love it. No problem. No pressure to have your camera on. We understand that folks are moving and grooving. So, but with that being said, and without further ado, let's jump right in. So once again, welcome, welcome. Hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. We are excited for our LA Fire Resources webinar today. This presentation is hosted by us here at Ampact Business Capital, which you'll hear a little bit about here. We are partnered with the SBA, the Small Business Administration, the Office of Disaster Resilience and Recovery, as well as FEMA. So you will hear from all of these amazing partners today. So really, really looking forward to our conversation. Just as a little bit of an agenda, so you all see what we got for today. I'm going to kick us off with a little bit of about Ampact Business Capital, gone through a little bit of a welcome and a little bit of an introduction of what we're going to be talking about today. Then we're going to dive right into the SBA resources that are available for you. Following hearing about the SBA resources, we are going to hear from our FEMA team, followed by our Office of Disaster Resilience and Recovery. And then we will open up the floor for any questions that may pop up or any closing remarks that anyone wants to make. Okay. And once again, as we're going through the presentation today, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat and we will circle back to them at the end of the presentation. So who the heck is Ampact Business Capital? I always love giving it a little bit of an overview and an introduction. We are a 501c3 mission-based lender, and we are authorized by the United States Small Business Administration, where you'll hear more from today, as a certified development company, or CDC. Fancy way of saying we do SBA loans to serve small business owners as a nonprofit. We are also a CDFI, a Certified Development Financial Institution, or excuse me, a Community Development Financial Institution, authorized by the United States Department of Treasury. And we exist to uplift communities, strengthen families, and advance entrepreneurial dreams. What does Ampact Business Capital do? Well, we finance and foster small business success from cradle to legacy, regardless of complexity. complexity, with our goal being to make businesses' dreams come true. We provide government-backed loans from as little as $5,000, which is our SBA microloan program, which you'll hear a little bit about, all the way up to 30 million and above, which is our SBA 504 program for helping business owners acquire commercial real estate and purchase large equipment and machinery. We facilitate direct lending as well for working capital, inventory, business acquisitions as well. And we are also an agency that is very passionate about service to the small business community. We've been in operation for over 15 years now, administering over $1 billion in lending to business owners, and we truly love what we do. We also are a big champion of making sure businesses have the financing, but also the support with fostering their success. So we are big on business advising. We aim to be a best fit lending partner for business owners to help them find the solution that they need. We are an entrepreneur ecosystem that facilitates ongoing training, coaching, and technical assistance programs. We do facilitate this through our mobile app, which you can find available on the App Store, Ampac Business Capital. But we also promote programs through our partners like the Small Business Development Center, the Women's Business Center, and our SCORE centers. We also collaborate with a plethora of organizations to help business owners accelerate their growth with intentionality. But without further ado, let's proceed in our program. With that being said, we are going to jump right into our SBA resources. We will discuss a little bit about their role in fire recovery, but specifically the available loan programs available and government contracting resources. And with that, I'll pass it to my colleague, Lee. On to you, Lee.
Okay, my name is Lee. I work out of the Los Angeles District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration. What I do at the SBA, I am an economic development specialist. It's like a general doctor for the SBA. So I'm going to go over a general overview of all the SBA programs and services here, so to speak. Right now, contract. Right now, capital. So the Los Angeles County has the largest loan volume. This is like an example here. There are Orange County, Los Angeles, Fresno, Sacramento, San Francisco, San Diego. These are all the district offices in California. So the key contacts. So this is going to be the Los Angeles District Office. Joni is our lender relations specialist. Orange County, Inland Empire area, that's going to be Ron. And then San Diego, it's going to be Cynthia Harris. So we went ahead and put those contacts in there. That's going to be a key contact for everybody. So the SBA resource partners, Small Business Development Center, SCORE, Women's Business Center, Veterans Business Outreach Center. SBA took your tax dollars to help pay for these services. So you want to get an SBDC advisor because this is somebody who can help you with loan packaging assistance. You don't have to go it alone. SCORE, get yourself a free mentor. Women's Business Centers, make sure you attend a workshop. We have 3 Veterans Business Outreach Centers in the state of California. Make sure you're getting the resource because you don't have to go it alone. This gives you a map in the LA area. So the Los Angeles District Office covers Los Angeles, Ventura, and Santa Barbara County. Small Business Development Centers, SCORE, Veterans Business Outreach Center, Women's Business Center. We have the contact info in the slides that are going to be provided to you. So the standard SBA loan, basic. This is outside of the disaster loan program. SBA provides a guarantee to lending institutions to provide financing options to people who otherwise would not qualify. SBA loan programs provide funds to small business owners who don't qualify for conventional loans. Meet the SBA and the lender guidelines and seek to buy or grow a business. So, quick sort of general overview on eligible versus ineligible. You have to be organized for profit, be a small business. These are general. Be located or proposed to locate in the United States. 7A SBA loan programs in general, this is going to be 504, 7A microloan. In order to get these loan programs, you have to approach a participating lender. Prior to approaching a participating lender, it is recommended that you work with one of the resource partners, so that way you don't have loan fatigue. It's going to be better for you to work with one of the resource partners to help you identify which loan program is going to be best for you and make sure that paperwork is together prior to approaching the lender. So the 7A loan is the most common SBA loan. It's most common because of flexibility on its purpose and uses. Basic loan term, 5 to 25 years with principal and interest. This is, again, just general overview, so you know that there is a loan program outside of the SBA disaster loan program. This is outside of disaster. Go ahead, next slide. So the 504. 504's primary use, finance fixed assets. So this is, you want to buy the property and a building, or build a building on the property. You get these loans through what is called a CDC. And this gives you an idea of the structure. Typical 504 structure, the bank, the SBA, and your equity injection. So you have $1 million project. You're going to get a bank loan for 500. The CDC 504, 400, and then your equity injection of 100. So these are, just to give you an idea, well, what is a 504 loan? Can you give me an idea of some of the projects that get financed? Manufacturing, industrial, commercial buildings, hotels and motels, daycare facilities, restaurants and bars, franchises, funeral homes, car washes. This gives you an idea of, well, what's the use of proceeds? What can I do with it? Here's you an idea. So the SBA microloan program, this is usually done by a nonprofit lender. The loan maximum is $50,000 because sometimes people, like, you don't want to get a loan if you don't need a larger amount, but banking institutions don't want to make a small dollar value loan. So where can you get that from? You get that from a micro lender. Oftentimes you do have to do some training associated with a microloan. That's where the post-business loan counseling is required, but all of these required counseling is about helping you grow as a business owner. So what's the next steps? I want to see, I'm interested. You go to the SBA.gov website. We have the English resource guide, the Spanish resource guide. Meet with one of the resource partners. Get all your documents together prior to approaching the lender. Explore what loan programs are going to be available to you. Maybe contact your LRS for some additional guidance, whoever's the LRS in your area. Don't forget to check out the SBA.gov website. So unless it's posted on the SBA.gov website, this is not a loan program from the SBA or associated with the SBA. So this gives you an idea. You go to the SBA.gov website, you click on funding programs, and then you're going to see loans, investment capital, and disaster assistance. And so now general contracting overview. So these are some things you want to ask yourself. Does the government buy what you sell? Do you have federal contracting experience, cash, inventory, working capital? Are you capable of fulfilling a government contract? And do you know where to find these contract opportunities? So, are you a small business? The size standards is determined by your NAICS code and your industry code. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to that you find your NAICS code from the census. Census.gov will have your NAICS code. What's your business type? Where are you located? Average number of employees. If your primary business is located outside of the US, you're not going to qualify. Nonprofit businesses are not considered small. Because to be considered small, the first step is you have to be organized for profit. Okay, next slide. So let's go quick here because in Los Angeles County, because we're a large county, there are certifications programs available at the city. LA County is a large county, the state of California, and then the federal. So we have City of LA, LA County, State of California, and then the federal, specifically on the federal certifications. Let's talk about what those are. So the federal certifications are small business. You self-certify as a small business on a website called sam.gov. Then we also have a veteran-owned small, after you've done that, we have a veteran-owned small business, women-owned small business, economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, aiding and HubZone. Where do you find business is going to be on Federal Procurement Data Systems, and then you can learn more on SBA.gov. But where do you get started? You get started with your unique entity ID on sam.gov. So this is a unique entity ID. Everyone who gets started, you need to get started with a unique entity ID. I'm going to put a link to this into the chat right now. Okay, next slide. After you've registered on sam.gov, if you're ready, you want to go for the other federal certifications. We have My SBA certifications. So this is going to be one central portal for you to be able to get registered, get your certification going for a federal contract. So how do we search for the contracts? What are our resources available? Federal Procurement Data System. This one is scheduled to go away soon, but still exists at this moment in time. This is where you can go and you can find some legacy contracts. The easiest one for you to be able to search is going to be USA Spending, usaspending.gov. It has contracts that have been done in the past, and you can do the locality wherever you are interested in. Upcoming procurements are going to be on sam.gov, and you also want to take a look at the federal agency procurement forecast. So each of the agencies, they go and they put out their forecast. Here's some of the things that we're thinking of buying in the next 6-18 months. It depends on the contracting agency. So one of the things you're going to want to do in order to search, this is the NAICS code. So this is the dictionary definition here. NAICS code, classify businesses based on a particular product or service they supply. How I look at it is NAICS code, this is like a government barcode for my business. The government wants to be able to barcode things. This is a barcode for my business. But let's take a look at what does that look like. So if you did just a simple search, again, on that census.gov for the NAICS code, if you did bakery, I'm going to make cookies. This is what it looks like. It's going to be 311812 bakery products. And then if you click on it, you can see like, oh, maybe that's not quite what I wanted to do. It gives you a definition. This will help you if you haven't picked one. Another thing is a product service code. So product service code, sometimes what you buy or what you are selling, your product or service doesn't quite fit with what the government buys. Then you can see like, oh, you know what, product service code maybe is easier for me to search. So NAICS code, product service code, those are things you're going to want to take a look at because it makes it easier for you to search those websites to find one that directly applies to your business. So this is how I look at the contracting framework, so to speak. We have a contracting agency and they have a requirement. It gets answered by what is called the prime. The prime is the one with primary responsibility for completing the project. If we did this as let's say a building, we want to make sure a building gets built. The prime is the one who said, yes, I can make sure this building gets built. Could be because of the project, the total project cost, they could be required to subcontract. It could be they don't do some aspect of the project, so they're going to subcontract. And it also could be they're trying to go for larger contracts in the future. They want to make sure they have a whole cadre of subcontractors available as they move forward as a prime contractor. So in our case, we're going to say that the prime contractor didn't do some aspect of the project. Maybe the first little section here, they don't do any water. The second little section, they don't do any of the landscaping or any of the electrical. If we go to the next slide, if the first one in turn subcontracted, then that's going to be a tier 2. So the tier 2 has the relationship to the tier 1. The tier 1 has the relationship to the prime. The prime is the one with the relationship to the contracting agency. If you look at maybe being a sub, you can see that there are additional contract opportunities that might be available. So instead of looking for the contract agency itself, you're going to be asking who is the prime on this contract and are there subcontracting options available to me? So you're going to want to talk about that with the prime, not necessarily with the contracting agency. The same thing. We have to see, can you financially support federal contracting? You're going to want to, it's going to be character, cash flow, collateral, capitalizations, and conditions. These are all things you're going to want to be considering for your business. Can I financially support a federal contract? Then what options are going to be available to me as I'm moving forward in the federal contracting space? Are you willing to be a subcontractor? Consider subcontracting opportunities that might be available to you. You might want to work with a prime, do a teaming agreement, joint venture, mentor protege. Being a subcontractor is going to gain, because you're a subcontractor, you're going to gain experience, which is going to expand your opportunities for contracting in the future. So specifically on the disaster recovery efforts, so you want to register on SAM for the Disaster Response Registry, and we put in Federal Subpart 4-1104, the Disaster Response Registry, to let any potential contracting agencies or anybody who searches the Dynamic Small Business Search or SAM.gov. If I'm trying to search SAM.gov to see who in the small business community that has registered their interest, they said that they were a small business, what is available to them here? You need to register. But how do I know if I've registered? Because I need to know if I've registered. Go into your SAM.gov profile and check. This is how you review your assertions in your SAM.gov profile to see if you've opted in to the disaster contracting opportunity, the registry. I am a disaster response business. And so this is how people, because you would want to see, right? I want to see if my business, I want to see how people see my business. So if you go to sam.gov, Brian, can you do the Zoom thing?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, so see, you go to the sam.gov, type it in, you go to the search, and this is going to help show you your entity information to see, oh, okay, this is how you search, this is how people are going to see that I am on the disaster. I have opted in to the disaster registry. And so I just wanted to make sure FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, specifically U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, is looking for those in debris removal. And it is, I'll put a link to it in the chat. There's a large business. If you are in the debris removal or items associated with debris removal, there is a large contractor that has it's ecc.net, I believe. I'll double check. ecc.net. You can register in the company portal to say that, yes, I am a small business, and yes, I am in the debris removal, and I'm interested. And this gives you an idea. This is what it looks like on sam.gov right now. If you just did a general search for debris removal, there are some contract opportunities that have appeared there. And it just gives you an idea how to search for those opportunities. Again, just generally. And then if you have any questions, because I'm like the general doctor, you might need the heart surgeon, so to speak, for contracting. So just put attention Sandra, email that 8alado@sba.gov.
Some sauce. Thank you so much, Lee. Such a joy to have you on our presentation today, and thank you for the wealth of information. And with that, we will move forward to some of our FEMA resources. And with that, I will excuse me. And with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Brandy. Thank you so much, Brandy, for bringing us some resources from FEMA today.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge that recovery is a long process. It often takes 3 to 5 years. And so FEMA is here for each of you every step of the way with government grants and support to help you in your recovery. FEMA has distributed at this point over $80 million in aid to survivors, which covers things like home repairs, personal property losses, medical expenses, and other disaster-related needs. Survivors can apply for assistance by calling 1-800-621-3362 or visiting disasterassistance.gov. You can also use the FEMA app or go to a disaster recovery center, which will make sure that those resources for the disaster recovery centers are in the chat, but you can find them by going to fema.gov/DRC. Programs like transitional sheltering assistance provides hotel accommodations for displaced survivors. And so if you do not have a place to live, that may be an option for you. Rental assistance and lodging expense reimbursement is also available for those whose homes are not habitable. And I'll share in the chat an overview of what it means for your home to be habitable or not. I mentioned our disaster recovery centers. We have one in two in Los Angeles County, one in Pasadena, Altadena area, and another at the UCLA Research Park West. They're open daily, closed on Sundays, open from 9 to 7 to support you. And they provide a one-stop shop for support, including assistance in replacing vital records. So the county is there, the state is there, federal resources are there, all available to you during a visit to the Disaster Recovery Center, whichever one you choose. Hazardous household waste removal has been completed by the EPA, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is now clearing debris to pave the way for rebuilding. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been given by FEMA approximately $3 billion, which has been allocated for this initiative. Beware of scams. FEMA will never charge you for applications or inspections. You can verify our identification. We all have IDs of anyone who is attempting to claim that they represent FEMA. So please beware of that, especially during the inspection process where you may be reached out to by an inspector who is not calling you from a FEMA phone number. Report any concerns that you have about identity theft directly to us at 1-800-621-3362 so that we can determine if there is something going on with your registration and go ahead and make those adjustments so that you can continue to be eligible for assistance and get it as quickly as possible. Emotional recovery is vital. Survivors can access support at 988 Crisis Helpline 24/7. And we also have a disaster distress helpline at 1-800-985-5990 to assist with those who are still distressed over the devastation of the wildfires. Now, what's really important to note is the deadline for assistance. Our deadline for FEMA and for SBA is March 10th, 2025. We do not anticipate that deadline will be extended. And so in order to be eligible for FEMA assistance or SBA assistance, it's really important that you get your registration or application in as quickly as possible. There are some forms of assistance from FEMA that are only available to you when you register within the first 30 days. And there are other forms of assistance that have recently come online, like from LA County, that you may be eligible for as well. I know the American Red Cross deadline just ended, but it's really important to pay attention to those deadlines so that you can utilize all of those avenues and vehicles for assistance to jumpstart your recovery. With that, I will turn it back over to Michael, and I will be here for any questions that you might have. Michael, Brian, thank you.
I got you, Brandy. Awesome.
A whole new name.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you so much, Brandy. And once again, we want to continue to stay connected. So we will be sharing contact information as well. So if you all have additional questions, we will be here to support. With that being said, we are going to move forward to our Office of Disaster Relief and Recovery. There are a lot of resources here. And with that, I am so excited to pass to my colleague, Corey Williams. Corey?
Well, thank you so much, Brian. And again, my heart goes out to those homeowners, business owners, renters, and nonprofits who were impacted by these devastating fires. And we're getting closer, as Brandy alluded to that March 10th deadline. So I want to make sure that we continue to get this messaging out. But with the U.S. Small Business Administration, we offer low interest loans to businesses of all sizes, nonprofits, homeowners, and renters not covered by insurance or other funds. Now, for this particular disaster, the incident period is January 7th through the 31st, 2025. The reason why I point this out is about 2 weeks ago, we had some mudslides and landslides. That is not covered by this declaration for those that may have an inquiry, because the incident period was closed prior to that atmospheric storm that occurred. Now, again, the physical deadline is March 10th, 2025, but I really want to kind of talk about the October 8th, 2025, and that's the economic injury deadline. So many times in disaster, we can see a building on fire or destroyed by fire. We can see a tornado that destroyed, a home. But most of the time, what businesses and nonprofits don't see is a drop in sales, canceled events, accounts payable not met, not being able to meet those monthly mortgage or lease expenses. And that's the exact part of why we have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, to provide working capital for businesses to sustain themselves during this operational period, which means that they can use the funds for monthly lease expenses, payroll, accounts payable, whatever is necessary to keep their business operational during this recovery period. And then I want to kind of shed some light on nonprofit organizations before we get into the interest rates. Is that many nonprofit organizations, such as churches or any faith-based organization, plan months, if not years, in advance for a particular event. So if an event is canceled, suspended, or postponed, well, that creates an economic injury immediately to that nonprofit or faith-based organization. And the reason why I really want to emphasize economic injury is because economic injury as a business owner and a nonprofit began on January 7th when the fire started. And so many times people, some of the businesses and nonprofits may be a little hesitant to be able to obtain funds in the form of a loan. But with the SBA's program, with the nonprofits, it's fixed at 3.625%. Business loan interest rates as low as 4%, and then the homeowners and renters as low as 2.563. Again, no cost to apply, no prepayment penalty, and even if you're approved, there's no obligation to borrow. So also there's no interest that will accrue for the first 12 months and no payment that will be due for the first 12 months. So for that business or that nonprofit that may need some capital to kind of keep their business sustained, well, they can borrow up to $25,000 for their physical loss and up to $25,000 for their economic injury, and that's a totally unsecured loan. So let's say within the course of this year, the business comes back operational, they decide they don't want the funds anymore, they don't want to have a loan. Well, because interest did not accrue for that entire year and no payment was due for the entire year, they pay off the funds and there's no loan. So who is eligible for the SBA disaster loan? As I mentioned, businesses of all sizes, homeowners, renters, and private nonprofits. Now, you must be located in a declared disaster area, which for this disaster is Los Angeles County. However, for the businesses and nonprofits that may have experienced economic injury only, those counties for contiguous are Kern, Orange, San Bernardino, and Ventura. Again, if you have economic injury only, those counties are Kern, Orange, San Bernardino, and Ventura counties. So the one messaging that I might emphasize for our business owners is to start that recovery now instead of waiting until July, September, October to realize, oh, we've had a drop in sales for the last 6 months, or we had to lay off some employees because the books are tight. This is the time now to really take advantage of the SBA programs. And then if you need increases in loan amounts, you can request increases for up to 2 years from the date of the loan authorization and agreement. Now, we encourage all who were impacted to apply. Renters can borrow up to $100,000 to repair or replace disaster damaged personal property, which would include any vehicles and insurance deductibles. And homeowners can borrow up to $500,000 to repair, replace disaster damaged real estate, and up to $100,000 to repair, replace disaster damaged personal property, which would include any automobiles as well. Now, this also includes insurance deductibles and debris removal. And we know that's been a hot button topic for a number of the areas impacted by the fires. And then refinance and relocation is available on a case by case basis. Now, for the businesses and nonprofits, businesses and nonprofits can borrow up to $2 million for repair, replacement of disaster damaged real estate, machinery, inventory, and equipment. But again, the most important thing that I emphasize for the business owners operating is the need for the economic injury disaster loan, providing working capital to meet payroll, working capital to meet monthly lease obligations, working capital to meet mortgage payments, and working capital to make your accounts payable in good standing. Now, for the homeowners that are in Altadena and the Palisades, one of the conversations has been, well, 500,000, Corey, it's a good amount, but we potentially may need an extra amount. Well, with SBA's mitigation program, SBA can offer up to 20% of the total loss for mitigative measures for all perils. Now, it used to be that we only could do for the similar peril, which was this wildfire. Now, because of it being all perils, we can now mitigate for wind and tornado. We can mitigate for flood. We can mitigate for wildfire, and we can even mitigate for earthquake. So this allows us to get 20% up to a cap of 500,000 to be able to not only rebuild, but rebuild stronger and more resilient. Now, most people, what we would encourage people to do, as Brandy mentioned, we have 2 disaster recovery centers that are in Los Angeles County. While we have these disaster recovery centers open, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and visit one of the disaster recovery centers. However, if you are not able to visit one of the disaster recovery centers, you can go to lending.sba.gov. Again, that's lending.sba.gov. Now, keep in mind, just as Brandy mentioned, the filing deadline for physical damage is March 10th, 2025. However, if you have economic injury only, that deadline is October 8th, 2025. Now, once we get an application in, a member of our loss verification team will inspect and also be able to identify the physical damage. And many times the SBA's verification is going to be much higher than the insurance verification to cover that underinsured or uninsured loss that you may encounter. Now, once the loss verification team is complete, then a loan officer will then take over the file and review any insurance or other recoveries and then recommend a loan amount. Now, again, for the first disbursement, homeowners will receive their first disbursement, which is the unsecured $50,000. Then there may be other requirements that may be left to go ahead and get into the secured portion of your loan. And then renters can get up to the full $100,000 unsecured. And then, as I mentioned, for business owners and nonprofits, they can get up to the first $25,000 for physical loss and the first $25,000 for economic injury, and that is the unsecured threshold of their loan. So they can't cross collateralize. So they can't get $50,000 for economic injury or $50,000 for physical loss. It's up to 25 and up to 25 for physical loss, 25 for economic injury. So let's recap. So for businesses and nonprofits, businesses can again borrow up to $2 million to repair, replace disaster damaged real estate, machinery, inventory, and equipment. But again, the biggest thing that I really want to emphasize, the need for working capital to sustain the business operations or the nonprofit operations during this recovery period. Now, homeowners can borrow up to $500,000 to repair, replace disaster damaged real estate, and up to $100,000 to repair, replace disaster damaged personal property. And again, renters can borrow up to $100,000 to repair, replace personal property, which would include any vehicles as well. And again, the one thing that I want to leave with you, mitigation. When we're rebuilding, we want to rebuild stronger and we want to rebuild more resilient. So we can get up to 20% of our verified physical damage, and homeowners are limited to an additional $500,000 on top of the $500,000 for real estate repair recovery. Now, SBA's customer service representatives are staffed in all the disaster recovery centers alongside FEMA, operating under the same hours. And our customer service representatives are available to answer all loan program questions. They can explain the application process and assist with the completion of your application. And they can also assist with loan reconsideration or reacceptance. Because keep in mind with SBA, a no is never a final no. You have up to 6 months if you are declined for an SBA loan to apply for reconsideration or reinstatement if your loan happens to be withdrawn. Now, if you have any questions, you can go to sba.gov/disaster, or you can call 800-659-2955. But again, while we have amazing customer service representatives from SBA as well as FEMA, I would strongly recommend that you visit one of the disaster recovery centers, or we have business recovery centers that are located throughout LA as well. With that, I will pass it back to Brian.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. And
Thank you.
this is really what we want to make sure everyone has access to is this wealth of information. There are resources available, and we want to make sure that you all are able to not only access them, but you know what is not only available, but readily willing to assist you in this recovery process. And so at this time, we do want to open up the floor for any questions that anyone has. I know I saw one question in the chat, but it looks like we already got an answer, but I will vocalize it just so if anyone else wanted to hear it. So there was a question asking how long must a business has been formed before applying for certifications? And the response, which came from our SBA teammate Lee, was that it depends. For the 8A program, there is a program requirement of 2 years. However, there are some exceptions. And so if you are curious, you can send an email to 8alotto@sba.gov. And then we did have one more question that came in about where would business owners look for HubZone contracting opportunities. For this, you would search in sam.gov with the HubZone item checked, which we covered a little earlier, but we'll make sure to circulate this PowerPoint deck for everyone to have access to as well. Now, at this time, I do want to open up the floor. Are there any other questions that anyone has for any of our presenters before we conclude for today? You can feel free to pop in the chat, or if anyone wants to raise their hand and unmute, that is an option as well. Okay. 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 I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, and it looks like, oh, nice. Congratulations, Lionel. You received your unique entity ID. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Excellent, man. Excellent. Okay. Okay. Well, once again, this is probably not the last time you'll be hearing from us, but we are really grateful for you all joining our presentation today. We hope it was valuable. We hope you got some good insights. Once again, we will be sharing this presentation deck and this recording with you all, so please know that is to come. But once again, thank you all so much for joining, and we are looking forward to continuing to support you as we go through this recovery process. As you all heard, it is a process that's going to take a little bit of time, and so we're here for the long haul alongside you. So once again, thank you to our partners, the SBA, with the Office of Disaster Relief and Recovery, and with FEMA. We're so grateful to you all for your support and for your advocacy for all those who have been impacted. So thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a great day. Take care, and until next time, bye-bye.